welcome back to Full Sport Press. I'm Peyton,
I am Zach.
and let's jump right into things with our what we saw. My what we saw was in the Illinois and Maryland game. Illinois had a game-winning field goal attempt. And during the game-winning field goal attempt, Maryland put the Kevin James meme on the jumbotron. So they, as like when you watch the replay, they kind of slow mo it, and you just see the ball headed straight towards Kevin James's face, and it went in. So like it was a game-winning field goal right into Kevin James's face.
That's perfect.
It was just a pretty amazing moment and hilarious.
Yeah, I mean that's just great. The Kevin James meme is starting to die down, I think, sadly. But last week and the week before were just amazing. So yeah, that's a great way to end the game. So what I saw is actually going to translate a little bit into my review of the last game of the week. So my last game of the week was Oregon versus Washington. It was a very, very good game, back and forth kind of the whole time. It was close the whole time. At the end, though, Washington was up. There were about 3-ish minutes left. I'm sorry, Washington was not up. Oregon was up. There were about 2-ish minutes left, and Oregon came to a 4th and 1, I think basically at like midfield. And they decided to go for it to try and pick up the 4th and 1 instead of punting. And they ended up not getting it. So Washington got a short field. Now from here, this is where I'm going to talk about what I saw. Because what happened after that was Washington's offense with Michael Penix took literally 2 chunk plays to score a touchdown and end up beating Oregon. Oregon couldn't do anything. I think they ended up with they had 20, 30 seconds left. Do you remember this?
Oh no, sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you watched it. No.
I did, but I don't remember how much time there was.
Okay. They had a little bit of time left, and I think not any timeouts. But obviously they couldn't score. Michael Penix seals it for the Huskies, moving them up to I believe number 5 this week. We're gonna talk about it later, but I think number 5 now, and staying undefeated. Michael Penix is looking for real.
He is. He is probably. I would be shocked. I mean, there's a long way to go, but right now he's the obvious Heisman front runner.
Yeah. Also, while Oregon had the ball before they decided to not punt it, Michael Penix, while he was down a score and seemingly just kind of waiting for the game to end and die out, or at least maybe get another last second chance, he was just on the bench freestyling with the wide receivers.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
And one of the wide receivers on Twitter came out and said, yep, he was freestyling about coming back. And that's what they did. So there we go.
Well, there you go.
Spoken to existence.
All right. My game of the week was the Cowboys-Chargers, which was last night. Maybe not a great game. It was definitely close the whole time. Justin Herbert played okay. He had a pick to seal it at the end. Dak Prescott, kind of average. And no one really played to their best ability, I would say. Defenses were looking pretty good. But the last drive, it felt like the Chargers had kind of shut down Parsons a little bit. He hadn't done too much until the last drive. Parsons gets in there, gets a sack. And this was with 2 minutes left. He gets a sack, and then in the very next, I don't know if it was the next player and one after that, he gets in there again and forces a bad throw, which was picked off by Stephon Gilmore to seal the game for the Cowboys, winning 20-17. And once again, the Chargers just can't beat a good team, and it's starting to look like a questionable season already for them. With they always come in with high expectations because that roster always looks good, and so far just not able to get any of the jobs done. Question for Zach: do you think Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback right now?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I really don't feel like I've seen him play much. No.
Here, I'll give you his stats on the year. He has 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a 67 quarterback rating, which is 6th in the NFL.
No.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. He's played fine. But when you look at the schedule, they lost week 1 to Miami, lost week 2 to Tennessee in overtime. They beat Minnesota, who does not look very good. They beat Las Vegas, who is not good. And then they lose to Dallas. So, sure, they've beaten the horrible teams, but any team that has any kind of okay abilities, they have lost to. And they've been close, but they've lost. So the Chargers really got to figure something out. I feel like you could almost argue Brandon Staley may be on the hot seat pretty soon
Yeah.
because this is just another season of like high expectations that are going to be like needed, or that if they don't meet them, then it's like maybe Brandon Staley's the problem. And we'll
Yeah.
talk about their matchup later on for next week, but it'll end up being a very big one. All
Yeah.
right. WNBA, Zach.
Yep. So we had between Thursday and now, or Friday and now, one game of the finals, and it was game 3, and the Liberty won it back in New York. Honestly, it was really not that entertaining of a game. It was just definitely like most defensive game so far. The final score was 87-73. There's really not even too many stats that completely jump off at you either. Like Brianna Stewart had a double double. She had 2012. That's awesome. Jonquil Jones had 27 points, almost a double double with 8 rebounds. And then on the Aces, Asia Wilson had a 16 and 11 double double, and Kelsey Plum scored 29 points in 40 minutes. It's just kind of one of those games that's like, okay, this is the one everybody was going to forget about until the very end when Chelsea Gray got hurt and went back to the locker room, and Kia Stokes got hurt. So, game 4 tomorrow at 8 o'clock on ESPN. The Aces are now going to be without probably the best point guard in the league and probably a top 5 defender in the league at center. And they're still in New York. They're up 2-1. But man, yeah, New York has all the momentum, and it's looking really sketchy for the Aces right now. But we'll see what happens. If tomorrow the Aces win, obviously they win the championship. If they don't, there will be a game 5 on Friday at 9 o'clock. Chelsea Gray possibly could come back for that. I'm not sure about Kia Stokes, but yeah, it just sucks. Hopefully the reserves on the Aces can step up and be enough so that it's not like, okay, these 2 injuries really just kind of killed the finals and just made it a landslide. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Yeah, and that's all I got on WNBA. Keeping it in women's basketball, but moving down to college. Iowa had their exhibition in Kinnick Stadium this weekend versus DePaul. I don't believe they sold out Kinnick, but they did set the record. I think they almost doubled it of most attended women's basketball game ever. It was in a football stadium, so yeah, it makes sense. 55,669, I think, is officially is the number. And then in that game, in case you were wondering if Caitlin Clark has slowed down over the offseason, she had a 34, 11, and 10 triple-double for the first ever triple-double in Kinnick Stadium, by the way. I think we all could have assumed that, but it is official. So, yeah, and they also played DePaul, who DePaul's not the best of teams, but they're also not a pushover either. They're a respectable team in women's basketball right now. So, pretty good game for Iowa. You got to be feeling good about that, especially about Caitlin Clark. But
just some comments on that game real quick.
oh yeah, I
One,
know what you're gonna say.
how in the world can over half of those fans see a thing that was
Dude,
going on
I
in
don't
that game?
I don't
Second,
know.
like if let's say they do this again, can we put the basketball court in the middle of the field and like maybe turn it sideways, or like it's like the same angle as the football field? I feel like the way they did it made zero sense. If you haven't seen the picture, look it up. Like they put it like on one end zone basically,
Yeah,
but they filled the entire stadium. So there were people
yeah.
on the other all the way on the other side, and there's just no shot they could see anything. I'm
No,
assuming
I
they put
mean,
it on the jumbotron, but
yeah. I don't know if they did this for this reason specifically, but I do know that it was on the end zone it was on. It's the same end as where the hospital is, and they did the first quarter hospital wave during the game. So
Mm.
that might have had something to do with why they put it there. I don't know. I still, yeah, that was a weird decision. The only other thing I can think is like whenever you see March Madness do it for like the Final Four and the national championship in like AT&T Stadium or something, like the court is only a little bit of it, and then the rest of the field is covered in seats and bleachers and stuff.
Yeah.
And like the Cowboys can do that. I just don't know if maybe if Iowa can do that for their whole football stadium. You know,
Yeah. Well,
so
I know Nebraska recently did something similar, but theirs was with volleyball. And hold
mm,
on, I'm looking up
yeah,
a
volleyball
picture,
day. They did
and
volleyball day. Yeah.
let's see how they had it set up, because I feel like Iowa just all right. So they had basically the same thing, but they put it more in the middle. It looks like, and I don't know. It looks like it was just a better setup overall than what was going on with Iowa. Yeah, they let people on the field. Like I think they put a tarp out over the
Mm,
field, and
nice.
people were allowed to like kind of gather around as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just ideas, Iowa, for next year if you do it
What was
again.
the other? Oh yeah, I guess another thing you could kind of say is maybe they wanted to help them with like depth perception of the backboard because it's a glass backboard, and in the stadium, obviously, like the seats are closer. So like if you put it in the middle, like they're going to be so far away. It's just a whole different. I don't know. It's a different thing
Well,
for sure.
even with
I
that,
don't know.
like they still put it like on the end zone. Like you can still do it
No,
that
they
way, but
did.
just in the
Yeah.
middle of the middle of the field, maybe.
I don't know. It was weird. But yeah, sticking with women's college basketball, both polls are out. So the women's AP poll and the men's. So I'm going to quickly run over the women's poll, really just the top 10, and then Peyton's going to run over the men's. So looking at the women, 25-11. There's honestly no big surprises, I would say. Yeah, nothing I'm seeing here. Oh, wow. Actually, yeah, except that Duke isn't ranked. Okay. Hmm, that's surprising.
We'll
Okay.
remember that.
Yeah. But Kara Lawson does a good job. She has puppies come to their practice like weekly, and this the best thing ever. All right, now top 10. Number 10, Notre Dame. Number 9, Indiana. Number 8, Virginia Tech. Number 7, Ohio State, and number 6, South Carolina. So that is your 10 through 6, and then here's 5 through 1. Utah is 5. UCLA is 4. Iowa is 3. UConn is 2, and LSU is 1.
Did you say number 3?
Iowa.
No. Fuck you. Okay, makes sense.
I have thoughts on these, but I can't say them on this show. So,
Okay, fair enough. All right. With my top 10, I'm gonna go 1 to 10 instead, because I feel like the more shocking ones are in the bottom 5. So let's start with the kind of obvious. Number 1, Kansas. Number 2, Duke. I feel like those could be interchangeable. Both are powerhouses with returning players and new guys coming in. Number 3, Purdue. They got 80 back, so obviously they're going to be up there. Number 4, Michigan State. They're a team that struggled in the regular season last year, but they're always the tournament team that no matter how they played during the regular season, Tom is going to have them ready for March. Number 5, Marquette won the Big East, so not a surprise. Now, number 6, UConn. You could argue they should be maybe higher. I mean, they did just win the national championship.
Did they win the national championship and have like nobody leave?
That's what I'm thinking as well. So it's a little shocking they would be at 6. I guess it's more based off, they weren't great on the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
had a runs where they would be really good, and they just kind of hit the stride at the right time. So maybe they're thinking they'd be surprised. There's someone that left, and I just can't remember his name.
Yeah.
It's Jordan. Ah, man, it's leaving me. There's someone that they had last year that was really
Um,
good. Oh, Sonogo.
yeah,
So Sonogo
Jordan
is gone, and
Jordan Hawkins. Jordan
that's it.
Hawkins.
Jordan Hawkins.
Because he's
So
really good. He's
Sonogo
like good friends
and
with
Jordan
Angel
Hawkins.
Reese. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Both of them are gone, so they will have to recover from that, obviously. But they still have a lot of people, I feel like, who are coming off the
So
bench that once they get time starting, they'll play a lot,
yeah,
and
they
that'll
had like that
make them.
huge guy, don't they? Who's that huge white guy? Yes,
Klingen.
Klingon.
Uh,
Yeah,
Donovan Klingen, I think is his name. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
Donovan
yeah.
Klingen, 7'2". So I think they'll be fine. They
Mm-hmm.
they have replacements for those guys. All right, then at 7 you got Houston, not a shocker. 8 is Creighton, so they're starting in the top 10
Hmm.
this year.
Wow.
And if you remember me at all last year, they were the team that they were on everybody's radar to start the year as a possible Final Four dark horse, and they almost got there. And let's see, they're returning a good bit of guys. They got Trey Alexander back, they got Kalkbrenner back, and they got Baylor Shireman back. So
Mm.
it'll be interesting to see if they can put together that Final Four run. Number 9, this is a little interesting. You got Tennessee. Now, I know the one guy that went off against Duke, he left, but they still have Zy Ziegler, Bescovi. Goodness, these names. Um, Other than that, no one real names I'm like shocked
Yeah.
by. And then at number 10, the Final Four team, Florida Atlantic. Um,
Oh
Now
yeah,
that
yeah.
one, it's a little shocking. They're at 10. I'm sure they have some people coming back that like John L. Davis. I remember his name from last year. He was
Mm-hmm.
really good. So Florida Atlantic at 10, but I think it's more about who they're above. For example, 11 is Gonzaga, 12 Arizona, 13 Miami, all above those. Texas all the way at 18, UNC at 19. Um, so yeah, just some interesting positions there.
Yeah,
Um,
it's weird to me that they seemingly, to me in my mind, they're rewarding FAU for a good tourney run and the Final Four, but then also at the same time somehow punishing UConn for winning the national championship.
yeah.
Oh well.
I guess they think that Sonogo and Hawkins being gone is a bigger deal than we're making it out to be, which I'm sure it will
Yeah,
be. And then
yeah.
also at number 21, USC, which if you
Bronny,
remember, Bronny James.
is he
And
going to be
if he's
playing?
playing, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. That's a good question. If you didn't remember, he had some kind of heart thing
Mm-hmm.
happen where he like collapsed on the court. So hopefully he'll be good to go, and we'll get to
Yeah,
see him play this year at USC. I'm interested to see how that goes.
yeah.
Um, all right,
Alrighty, let's get into college football.
let's do it.
Let's do it. No update on Pick'em this week. That'll come next week. Getting into the week 7 games. One game on Tuesday. We've talked about the Battle of the Carolinas before. We did that week 1. Me and Peyton were both wrong. It was not North Carolina, it was South Carolina. We completely forgot about the way more regional, way more entertaining matchup of Coastal Carolina and the App State Mountaineers. I watched every bit of this game because it was a Tuesday night and I didn't have work. And I said, you know what? I'm down for this border rivalry. And I'm glad I did. The better Carolina won, Coastal Carolina, 27-24. I believe it was on like a last second field goal to win it. But it was a good game. It's just one of those games where it's like a Tuesday night college football. It gets that Maction feeling, you know, and it's just great. Did you watch any of that one?
No, I did not get to watch it.
Nice. Alrighty. And then Friday night, I didn't watch any of this, but I know what happened because so does everybody else. Colorado was up at halftime, 29-0, and they ended up losing to Stanford, 46-43. Peyton, why don't you tell us how this happened?
Um, you know, I think a lot of people are wondering how this happened because Stanford is not good at
Man,
all.
no,
Um,
they're
they are in
not.
fact bad,
They are
and
bad.
I think even Deion Sanders said in his thing like he doesn't know how it happened, but it's just that defense could not stop them apparently, Because if you look at the stats, the wide receiver for Stanford had 13 catches, 294 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So
How many?
obviously,
How much did he average per catch?
let's see that. He had 22.6 yards per catch.
That's
It's just
wild.
insane.
Man, that's wild. Yeah. That's crazy. And supposedly in a game where Shooter Sanders had a really good game,
Yeah.
and it still didn't matter. So that defense is really killing Colorado. I'm sure like this year is going to be rough, but by next year, I don't know. I unless something crazy happens, because there's a long time from now and next year, but I feel like Dion will get this fixed by next year because it's Dion. But who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you got to think most likely kids are seeing like what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
probably more transfers, I would assume. Now
Yeah.
that they're seeing like it's possible to win at Colorado, like
Mm-hmm.
it's not just an experiment, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. After that, Iowa State ends up beating Cincinnati 30-10. That's all I got to tell you about that one. BYU destroyed by TCU. Where is this at? 44-11. So, yep, we're not going to talk about that one either. This is the first one we'll talk about a little bit. Where is it on ESPN? There we go. Oklahoma State and Kansas. Oklahoma State ends up winning 39-32. This was a close one, especially after Kansas just had that huge win last week. What are you thinking about your Jayhawks? Because you wanted them to win this one.
My Jayhawks.
Yeah, you wanted them to win this one. That's what you said last week.
Well, I don't know if I wanted them to win, but I
That's what
predicted them
you
to
said
win.
they were going to win. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean I was pulling for them, but we're gonna blame it on Kansas. Still doesn't have their starting quarterback, so
Yeah, but their quarterback they had in threw for 410 yards and 5 touchdowns,
yeah,
and they
but he
still
wasn't the starter.
lost.
He wasn't
Yeah.
the starter. How did he throw for 5 touchdowns and then score 32 points?
Maybe they missed. They missed
No,
three.
they didn't miss any extra points. Did they go for 2 that many times?
Maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, After that, Tennessee and Texas A&M ends up being like a boring game, 20-13. Who cares? Iowa, we love Iowa. Added 15 points to their drive for 325 versus Wisconsin. And with that 15 points, they beat Wisconsin 15-6. For all the people we're talking about for Heisman, the one person nobody has mentioned is Iowa's punter. And he definitely needs to be up there. What's next?
That game went about exactly how I expected it to. So
Yep. I'm so upset I didn't get to watch it. Notre Dame completely stuns the country, I would say. Like 48-20. I don't think anybody who has a pulse would ever say a Caleb Williams led team is going to score only 20 points.
I mean, he threw 3 interceptions in the
That's
first half.
crazy. That's crazy.
And it was 24-6 at halftime. I mean, that's hard to come back from unless you're Stanford.
Yeah.
So I mean, give you credit to Notre Dame. That's I think really what it is. And I think
It's just
this really drives home the point too that USC can't do anything until they get a defense.
yeah. And I think that kind of what they were saying on game day and also kind of what it has been the past few years is USC, all these top teams, USC, Oregon, they're all going to be so good up until they get to Utah because Utah is always the one that knocks them off. And USC has Utah next week. And I don't know how they're going to do after this loss. Switching over to Notre Dame. Remember, Notre Dame last week got stunned by Louisville. Louisville went on to lose this week to a 1-win Pitt team.
Yep.
So
Like,
they lost
what
38-21.
college football made no sense this week.
This is
Because
why
yeah,
college
Notre
football
Dame.
is amazing.
But yeah, Notre Dame lost to Louisville. Then they beat USC. Louisville beats Notre Dame, loses to Pitt. And then to
That's right.
add to the doesn't make any sense, Washington State lost to Arizona 44-6.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like insane.
Yep. It really is not making sense, but it's great. That's nothing will ever beat college football. What's next? Two more games for week 7. Missouri beat the Blue out of Big Blue 38-21. My favorite thing from this game is at the end of it, since since Kentucky plays at Kroger Field, Missouri, to say that they won, they dropped a graphic on Twitter, and it was the look of a crumpled up Kroger receipt. And it had basically all their stats from the game listed out, and then at the bottom, like the final score. It was really, really good. They did a great job of that. And then, Peyton, I'll let you go on with this one. Duke has it easy against the Wolfpack, 24-3.
And if you look at those stats, it didn't really make sense that Duke won this so easily. Duke's quarterback was out because he got hurt in the Florida State game,
Yeah.
but right, wasn't that the game they got hurt in?
No,
No, who am I thinking of? What game?
it's the game. I don't know who.
Notre
What's the
Dame.
game? No,
Notre
Notre
Dame.
Dame.
That's the
Yeah.
game. Notre Dame. He got hurt in the Notre Dame game on the last play. So you think NC State is going to keep it close? No, even with just 100 passing yards, 4 completions for Henry Bellin the fourth for Duke, they still win the game 24-3. Duke's defense was insane. They ran the ball all over NC State, and they pull off a good win at home, and that's going to be important because the next week is going to be a doozy, which we will talk about. Well, what? Nah, we'll go in order. We'll wait.
Yeah. It's going to be close. Alrighty. Week 8 games. Honestly, not a huge slate. This is, I think, our smallest slate we've had so far. And I didn't even want to put all these on here. I reached a little bit. So here we go. Saturday, big noon game on Fox. Number 7 Penn State versus number 3 Ohio State. I don't expect this game to be good at all. I think Ohio State's going to completely destroy them. That's what I think.
I think the opposite. I think Penn State is going to destroy Ohio State.
Alrighty. I
So
have
one of
no
us will be
clue.
right.
I literally could care less about both of these teams. I don't care what the result of this game is. I just hope they both have fun.
My shout out
Yeah.
game of the 12 o'clock window, I will be going with Air Force again, and the Air Force versus Navy matchup. Service academies going against each other. Air
Yeah.
Force ranked number 22. They are 6-0. Navy is 3-3. Can Navy
Yeah.
pull off an upset? It will be at Navy. So who knows? At 12 p.m. That's
Um,
actually a tough kickoff for Air Force because they're coming from Colorado. So it would be like a 10 a.m.
can
for them.
Air Force continue their playoff run? That should be
I
the real
mean,
question.
why not?
Our first 3:30 game is a Big 12er for now. Actually, they're staying in it, aren't they? Both of them? I think they are.
Who are we
Oklahoma
looking at?
State versus
Yes.
West Virginia. Both are 4-2. This is 3:30 on ESPN. West Virginia, I think, started the season with a win and then a loss. Oklahoma State started with 2 losses and I think have won 4 in a row since then. No, that's incorrect. Yeah, I just lied to you, but oh well. Both teams, I don't know, they're like the same team. It feels like when I look at the stats. Both are. Let's see. Oklahoma State is getting about 390 yards a game. West Virginia's 380. And then for defense, Oklahoma State is letting up 392 yards a game, and West Virginia's at 345. So it feels exactly the same. I don't know who's going to win this, but I'll go with the Mountaineers for now.
I'll agree.
Alrighty.
My
Yep, go.
Oh wait, yeah, you go ahead. I'll wait.
Washington State, which you just talked about, versus Oregon, both coming off of losses, both sad losses. This one is on ABC at 3:30. I mean, obviously, you expect Oregon to take this one, but crazier things have happened. What's your game?
Oh, now it's my game. Okay. My game. I'm between a few. We're gonna go with Minnesota at Iowa on NBC. Um, at this point, I think the Iowa dream of how many points was it?
325.
325. That's pretty much dead unless they just start lighting it up. Um, yeah, I think this is going to be another
No faith.
10-7 game, 14-7 game maybe. And you
Keep
gotta love
talking.
those.
Keep
So I
talking about
think
them.
I think Iowa will probably win this, and I think if Iowa wins this and the rest of their schedule, let's just go down Iowa's schedule real quick. They're 6-1 at the moment. They got Minnesota this week. Then after that they have Northwestern. After that Rutgers, then Illinois, and then Nebraska. At what point do we start entertaining the notion of an 11-1 Iowa team with the last ranked offense in the country? Because it's not out of the question with that schedule. Because
Okay.
no really scary games.
So I just did math. Yeah, scary, but I did it. Iowa so far this season has scored 146 points. They have 5 games left, so they need to score 179 points to get to 325. So in those 5 games, they have to score at least 35.8. We'll call it 36 points. I think they can do it.
Yeah, they can't do that.
Come on,
But
Iowa. I
did you?
believe.
But did you hear the rest of their schedule?
Yeah, I did.
What
Can you say that again? Say what you said again
this
about
could
their
end up
schedule
being
and yeah,
an 11-1 Iowa team with the last
Mhm.
ranked offense in the country.
Good. I hope it is.
Man,
I
dark
really
times
hope
in
it
college
is.
football.
I
Dark
really hope it
times.
is. And their punter better get some nods at the Heisman. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh man.
Okay. 4 o'clock. This one's gonna surprise some of you, but I'm telling you, you're gonna want to see it. Not only is it two 6-1 teams, but you're getting Maction here, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have not experienced Maction, it's a crazy time. Toledo versus Miami of Ohio. I know it sounds crazy. 6-1, 6-1. 4 p.m. ESPNU to give you a little bit more of a reason to watch this game. I'm going to tell you, Toledo right now, they're getting almost 500 yards a game. So it's going to be an offensive show on the Rocket side. And Miami has a really good defense. So this is going to be a good one. I think it's one that obviously not a lot of people are going to tune into, but it's going to be one of those games that is going to possibly, I think, be one of the games for college football. Is like, wow, that was a crazy game that nobody's ever going to watch. So watch it. You don't want to miss it. Peyton, this one's all you. 7:30 ABC. Who's playing?
We got Duke at Florida State. And Duke's odds in this one really comes down to, do we see Riley Leonard back? The coach was asked what's the status update, and it's still day to day, and that's what it's been for about 2 weeks now. So I don't know if we're going to see Riley Leonard. If we do, then obviously I think Duke has a chance to pull it off. But without him, it's going to be extremely tough. Like I said earlier, the passing offense last week was just not great. They got the win easily, but it wasn't because of them. And I think for them to beat Florida State, they're going to have to be able to move the ball passing it and not just running it all the time. And because that Florida State offense is obviously a lot better than NC State. So
Yeah.
if Duke is going to have a chance, Riley Leonard will have to play. It'll come down to that.
All right. 8 o'clock on Fox. This is a big Pac-12 one. Utah versus USC. This is going to be a crazy one because Utah's one loss, USC is one loss, Oregon has one loss, and Washington is undefeated. So this has big play, not well, yeah, big playoff, but also big Pac-12 championship implications. But on top of that, this is a who are we and where are we game for USC because this is Utah. Like they year after year have pretty much done whatever they wanted to a lot of teams in the Pac-12, including USC, because of their defense. And I really think Saturday is going to be the same thing. I think Utah is going to win this game, and USC is going to lose back-to-back games.
I think I'm going to say what I just said about Duke, about Utah. If do we have an update on Cameron Rising? Is he still coming back at
I'll
some
look.
point?
I'll look, but I
I,
don't know if it matters, honestly.
in my opinion, this is a game where he would need to come back because we know how bad USC's defense is. If he's back, then I 100% think Utah will win. If he's not back, I don't know if I'm ready to trust in their offense to be able to score enough because I think USC will have a bounce back offensive week and Caleb Williams is going to score points. Now, that's why I think if Cameron Rising is back, he will be able to put up enough to compete with that and be able to give Utah a chance. So that I think this is another game that hinges on a quarterback injury. I
Yeah,
don't
it'd
see
be
anything
not.
about it. So
Yeah, I don't see him here, so I'm guessing he's not.
I thought
But I
he
mean,
was like possible to play week 1, but yet
I
he's
think
still
he.
not.
Yeah, I think he was, but he still just hasn't shown up. The where I'm at for this game is, man, I don't know. I've gone back and forth because this game's in the pick'em too, and I've thought so much about it, and I'm back and forth because one part of my mind is saying last week was a fluke. It was a bad game for USC. Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. But then I'm also like, Utah has done this year after year to them, and they're if USC's offense looked that bad against Notre Dame's defense, who's definitely not Utah, how are they going to look against Utah? I'm torn completely in my mind, but my heart is telling me Utah. So right now I'm going with Utah. And the last game we're going to talk about, I don't want to put it on here, but I feel like I had to. Clemson, Miami, go Canes, 8 o'clock ACC network. You want to
Miami
look at
win.
the stand? What?
Miami win.
Yep.
Hold on. I
Looking
got a
at this.
game for
Oh yeah, go ahead.
my 7 p.m. game is on Fox Sports 1, Texas Tech at BYU.
Mm.
This is just a one that sounds like it could be a shootout, and it sounds like it could be fun.
Alrighty. Looking at the polls real quick before we move on to the NFL. Nothing crazy, really. Georgia's still number 1. Michigan's number 2. Ohio State at 3. And Florida State is at 4. Your new number 5 is Washington. And Oklahoma is at 6. Obviously, Penn State 7. Texas is at 8. Oregon dropped down to 9. And in the top 10 now. In the top 10. North Carolina, who's undefeated. I did not realize they were still undefeated. Other than that, big movers. Duke moved up 6 spots to number 15. USC in their loss moved down 8 spots to 18. Louisville, who just beat Notre Dame and then lost again, they dropped down to number 20. They dropped down 7 spots to 21. And UCLA also drops down 7 spots to 25. And then other than that, people entering, you've got Missouri at 20. Air Force had to get 6-0 before they ever got ranked. So let's just put that out there. And they're only ranked number 22. Tulane at 5-1, and Iowa's in here at 6-1 now. And your number 1 others receiving votes, the James Madison Dukes.
All right.
I think that's all we got for college football.
Time to move on to the NFL. We'll start off with the English game in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and they were treated to a something they enjoy. It was a kicker fest, so lots of kicks going on, something they're used to in that stadium. Um, there were 9 total field goals from both teams,
Good.
and the Ravens win it. But bad news for the Titans as Tannehill goes down hurt, and it looks like he's going to be out multiple weeks. So the debate will become: is it going to be Levis time or is it Willis time? I feel like if I'm a Titans fan, I'm hoping for Levis because you know what you got in Willis, and
Yeah.
he's just not going to be it. So give Levis a shot and see what happens. I don't expect
Hmm.
much, but I think why not at this point. Um, and then Desmond Ritter gets his first home loss of his NFL/college career, losing to the Commanders, 24-16. Sam Howell, no turnovers on the day. Ritter threw 3 picks, and most of them were like in critical areas near the end of the game. Some people are saying, will the Falcons be better off if they started Taylor Heineke over Ritter? Possibly, honestly, because Ritter's struggling. Bengals get another win against the Seahawks. That's pretty big. They didn't look great on offense, but the defense showed up. They won 17-13. They were able to stop Seattle near the end to get a win. Colts, I believe, they may be done for the season after that showing, just because I don't know if Gardner has what it takes week in week out to be a
He
good to be a
does. He
what.
did exactly what he always does. If he has to come in as a backup, he's absolutely lights out, amazing. It's like this guy is so good. Right when he has to start, he completely forgets how to play football. So at least we got Jonathan Taylor back.
All right, here's an idea that was floated up.
Mm-hmm.
Start Sam Ellinger for one snap, then
Sure.
bring on Minshew to be a backup. So he's not technically
Maybe.
starting.
I maybe.
Could
I'd be
that be the
fine with that.
secret? We don't
It
know.
could be.
But Jaguars get a big win. ETN, he's looking really good this year. Um, and
Yeah.
the Colts, they've just put themselves in this weird situation. I feel like with their running backs, and I don't know what if I've said it once and I'll say it again. I don't know if signing Jonathan Taylor was the right move for them because like if you look at their carries on Sunday, Zach Moss 7 for 21 in the touchdown, Jonathan Taylor 8 for 19. And it just seems like they're trying too much now to split them, and it's just not getting either of them into a rhythm. I don't know, something to watch for. I'm sure eventually Jonathan Taylor will do what he does, but right now it's interesting. We're not even going to talk about the Vikings Bears because that was a horrible game. Vikings won. That's all we need to know. Browns. So 2 undefeated teams go down. We'll start with the 49ers. They had a chance to win it at the end of the game, but Jake Moody misses the field goal. Um, and the Browns win it 19-17. This was the Browns defense pretty much. Brock Purdy struggled a lot. Myles Garrett was all over the place. PJ Walker picks up a dub over the 49ers. Respect to PJ. But yeah, big win for the Browns. That division as a whole is just insane right now. Let's just get a little look at it. Baltimore Ravens are 4-2. Steelers are 3-2. The Browns are 3-2, and the Bengals are 3-3. So that one is wide open, and honestly, all those teams could make the playoffs. That's gonna be interesting to watch. And then we have C.J. Stroud pulling off a win over the Saints, and Derek Carr is not looking like that experiment is going to work well. They threw the ball 50 times for 300 yards, and that offense doesn't look good. I don't know if it's Derek Carr. I don't know if it's the offensive coordinator, but they got to get something fixed in NOLA. The Raiders beat the Patriots, and yeah, the Patriots are horrible. That's all I really have to say about them because Brian Hoyer came in and won it for the Raiders. So there's that. Lions, are they the best team in the NFL? That's what a lot of people are saying. They moved to 5-1, big win over the Buccaneers and Tampa, and honestly, they look really good. They are without Dave Montgomery now, as he is going to be out at least a couple weeks, I believe. So let's see what happens there. And then the other unbeaten team to go down, the Jets defeat the Eagles. Um, Another like defensive game, the Jets were able to shut down Jalen Hurts, picked them off 3 times, including a pick that got the Jets all the way down to the like 8 yard line with a minute 40 left to win them the game. And then the Bills survived the Giants, and what was supposed to be a blowout ended up being a close game, but the Bills survive and move on. All right, looking ahead to Week 7, starting on Thursday night, we have the Jaguars at the Saints. Now, the Saints are favored by 1, but I'm taking the Jaguars in this game. I do not feel good about anything the Saints have going on. So yeah, I think the Jags will end up winning this. What do you think? Jags or Saints?
Saints.
All right.
I don't know
All
why.
right. Sadly,
I'm just
huh?
feeling it. I'm just feeling
Okay,
it.
fair enough. Sadly, no Europe game this week. So next, my 1 o'clock game to watch for would be the Lions at Ravens. The Lions are 5-1. The Ravens are 4-2. This should be a really good close game. It could go either way. I feel like it'll end up being a defensive battle because I feel like anytime the Ravens face off against the top team, it always ends up defensive. I'm sure it'll end up raining or something. That's just how it works. The over-under is 42, so it seems like that's what's kind of being expected. I'm gonna take the Lions in this, especially.
Yep.
It almost helps that they're on the road. They've been so good on the road this year. They beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. There it is.
Arrowhead.
They beat the Lions in Lambeau, and they beat the Bucks at home. I mean that the two of the hardest places to play in the NFL, and they've won in both of them. So I don't see why not. And I'm taking the Lions over the Ravens. What about you?
Yeah. Lions. Ravens are trash.
All right, and then my 4 o'clock game, I kind of teased it earlier. The Chargers are taking on the Chiefs, so a divisional matchup. The Chiefs are already 5-1. The Chargers sitting at 2-3. If the Chargers really want to make the playoffs or even make a push for the division, then this is a must-win matchup because the Chiefs are going to start running away from it with it, and the Raiders and Broncos definitely aren't even in the conversation. So if they're going to slow down the Chiefs, Chargers need to win this game. But I do not think that's going to happen. I'm going to be taking the Chiefs. Zach?
Yeah. I don't think the Chargers have it. I.
There you
Yeah. Yeah. Patrick
go.
Mahomes.
We're going to skip Sunday night. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then we'll head to Monday night, which is the San Francisco 49ers at the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, this is probably going to be a blowout, especially considering how the Niners lost last week. They're going to want to come out and they're going to be mad. So I think the Niners will get a big win here. The only thing that could happen is Christian McCaffrey. I don't think this came out what he has going on unless I missed it somewhere. So he could be out. But honestly, I don't think that really.
Isn't Debo also is too?
Debo, yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing, though. I don't even think that affects the Niners that much, which is what's crazy.
No.
I still think they'll win big. Um,
I don't
who,
understand how they have this many weapons on this team.
it's just not
You
fair.
lose CMC and Debo, but you still have Kittle and Ayuk.
Yep. It's just not fair. All
Yeah.
right. Now,
Sounds
time
like
to
you
move
and
on
your fantasy
to.
football team.
True. And in case you missed it, I am still the. I have once
There's
again
no
led the league in
updates.
scoring.
There's no updates this week. Stop it. We get updates every other week. It's not this week. We're not talking about it.
Just to be clear, I led the league in scoring once again.
Stop it.
All right. Now, my
Go
game of the
Florida
week.
State.
Wow. Okay. That was too far. My game of the week is heading over to Sunday Night Football on NBC, and it is the Miami Dolphins versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This has potential to be game of the year. Um, Now, the Eagles are really going to have to fix whatever was going on Sunday against the Jets, but I feel like this could be a shootout, and it's just going to be fun to watch with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle on one side, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and DeAndre Swift on the other, and now Julio Jones as well is on that Eagles team, which I don't know how much of an impact he will make at all, but
Will he
this
be
is a
there
huge
yet?
game. I don't know. He may not even play, but he's on the team. This is a huge game for both teams. Kind of like this could be a predict pre Super Bowl matchup. Like this could end up being the Super Bowl, and I would not be shocked. And it's just two fun teams, two fun offenses, and I'm excited to watch it. And I think Mm. This one is really tough to pick. I'm going to go with the Dolphins here.
Yeah, that one's hard. I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think they figure it out.
All right. All right, Zach, your game of the week.
Alrighty. My game of the week is number 17 Tennessee versus number 6 Alabama. 3:30 on CBS. The cigar game, the big one. This is the big one right here. So, as of right now, Alabama is predicted to win by 76.4% on ESPN. I got to say, I don't know how I feel about that, though. I'm sorry. I'm getting a lot of very interesting text right now that I'll have to show you after this.
Okay.
Anyway, looking at both of these teams and the numbers they're putting up, Peyton, if you had to guess a number between 350 and 500 yards, how many yards do you think Tennessee's offense puts up a game? Between 350 and
375.
500. 444.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And their defense allows 303, which sounds like a lot. But then you look over at Alabama, who is averaging less than the 375 number you said in yards and only getting 368 per game and allowing 292 per game. So, I mean, the numbers aren't the only story, obviously, but looking at these, it's kind of hard not to want to take Tennessee. And then also just knowing the narrative that's been behind Alabama this year and just the struggle supposedly that they've had, which they're 6-1. Let's get real. They have been worse, but it hasn't been a struggle. It's been a struggle for Alabama, but let's say that was South Carolina. That would be magic. That would be heaven for us.
Yep.
I don't know. Again, thinking with my head, I'm going to say Alabama probably wins it, but with my heart, let's go Vols.
Alabama's going to win.
That's all we got though.
All right. Well, that is an episode of Full Sport Press.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.